afternoon, everyone. Assembled judges, fellow debaters, and honored guests. Today we stand before you to address a critical issue governing our world, the operations of citizens in conflict countries fueled by involvement of Western power. We firmly believe that such intervention must be commended and abolished. Why? Because Western military intervention and political manipulation, destabilizing intelligence, instead of fostering peace, they breed an environment free for human rights abuse. Iraqis, civilians, and caught in the conflict and their political suppressing the war in Afghanistan, a brutal conflict spanning 2 decades, served as a stark reminder of the tragic reality. Western intervention in 2001 amid to dismiss a regime upward of harboring terrorists. However, to ensuing years, we have not a swift resolution, but a government of violence. Civil casualties mounted, infrastructure crumbled, and the initial objective remained to force talent elusive. Ultimately, chaotic with travel market to end of the capture, leaving behind the nation still grappling with instability and the potential regression of oppression. This is not an isolated incident. The story is littered with examples demonstrating the destructive consequence of such intervention. We argue that this approach fundamentally contradicts a core principle: the right of all people to live in peace and security. Every nation deserves self-determination, free from external manipulation that undermines their sovereignty. International relations solve priority diplomacy, furthering dialogue and understanding to address root cause of conflict. Our goal is not to be isolation. Collaboration is essential, but it must be founded in respect, not dominant. We argue a shift toward a global community that prioritizes a peaceful solution, empowering nations to chart their own course towards a brighter future, free from the struggles of oppression. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and honorable opponents, we gather today to debate a motion that calls for the condemnation and abolition of Western involvement in conflict Qatar. Will the intent behind this motion is to address the issue of oppression and foreign interface. We must carefully consider the further implication of such attacks. Oppression, therefore, is one of critical opposition to this motion. Arbitrage, condemnation, and abolition Western involvement might appear to be straightforward and morally solution. However, a deeper examination reveals that such occurs in fraud, betrayal, and opposition. We must recognize that Western Westerns with the goal of provide humanitarian aid, supporting peacekeeping mission and upholding international laws designed to protect human rights. In this debate, we will present three compelling arguments in support of this. Number one, humanitarian aid and peacekeeping. Western's involvement in instrumental in delivering humanitarian aid and coalition peacekeeping operations that are essential for the survival and security of vulnerable population. Without this support, many of these efforts would collapse, leading to increased suffering and instability. Number two, moral and ethical responsibility. There aside a moral and ethical duty for the international community, including Western countries, to intervene in situations where several human rights violations occur. Historical precedents show that such intervention can prevent atrocities and highlighting the necessity of possible international agents. And the last consequence of non-intervention, history has shown us the devastating consequence of non-interference. It has led the Pakistan genocide demonstrates that inaction can lead to catastrophic human suffering. By abolishing Western involvement, we risk repeating this tragic mistake and allowing further atrocities to unfold. And through the point, we aim to illustration that rather than concentrate and abolishing Western involvement, we should focus on reforming and establishing efforts to ensure there are effective, ethical, and truly beneficial to the in it. And thank you very much.
Thank you in advance for your opinion, but actually I don't agree with that opinion, which is moral and strategic responsibility. Western countries bear significant moral and strategic responsibility for operation in conflict zones. They are not only morally obligated to condemn oppression but also to actively take steps to end it. This responsibility can be fulfilled through grassroots diplomacy, economic competition, support for pro-democracy movement, and targeted military intervention as a last resort. Failure to act decisively will undermine the credibility of Western nations as defenders of human rights and democracy. Other point, we want to talk about Western countries must also resist their foreign policies to ensure they do not directly or indirectly support oppressive regimes. Armed sales to countries violating human rights should be halted, and political support for such regimes should be withdrawn. Additionally, Western nations should prioritize dialogue and cooperation with civil society groups and activists in conflict zones. Thank you.
The view that Western intervention worsens the Israel-Palestinian conflict ignores a number of important benefits of their involvement. Here are some arguments in favor of Western intervention. The first is effective peace mediation. Western countries, especially The United States and the European Union have been the main mediators in various peace agreements, such as the Oslo and Camp David approach. Their involvement reflects a commitment to achieving a just and sustainable two-state solution. Second is humanitarian assistance from Western countries through organizations such as UNRWA is essential to assist Palestinian refugees and meet their basic needs such as food, health, and education, which cannot be ignored amidst the protective conflict. And the third is tackling extremism. Western involvement helps curb the influence of extremist groups by supporting moderate parties and pressing for democratic reforms. This is important for creating an environment conducive to negotiations and long-term peace. Fourth is international law enforcement. Western cultures often emphasize the importance of compliance with international law and human rights standards. They encourage accountability for violation from both sides, which is important to prevent future escalation of violence. And the last is prevent larger conflict. Western intervention often serve as a balancing force in the regions, preventing conflicts from escalating into larger wars and involving more countries in the region. Overall, Western countries' involvement in Israel-Palestine is driven by efforts to create long-term peace, stability, and prosperity in regions. Despite the challenge and the benefit of these interventions are far greater in supporting peace and humanitarian effort. Thank you.
Okay, so based on your practical, so our team believe that the imbalance of power and domination in Western is make conflict zones are often characterized by significant power imbalance, in which the stronger Western states dominate and impose their own interests on the weaker. So this can lead to several negative consequences. The first is injustice and injustice. That is, the Western intervention can strange, unfair, and unequal power structures in countries affected by conflict. Rich and powerful Western nations often have disproportionate influence in determining the future of poorer and weaker nations. And the second is the resentment and hate. When the Western intervention can provoke the respect and hatred of the West among the local population, so this can happen because such intervention is often seen as a form of modern colonialism or imperialism and can strange anti-Western sentiment. And the third is conflict exacerbation. When the Western intervention can aggravate an existing conflict rather than resolve it. This can happen because such intervention may trigger hostilities between different factions in a conflict-stricken country and may prolong the bloodshed. And the fourth is political destabilization. This can lead to political destabilization in countries that are affected by the conflict. So this can happen because such intervention may undermine fragile democratic institutions and strengthen authoritarian regimes. And the last is the intervention in Libya, that is also seen as an example of a Western intervention that failed to its goal. So this caused the death of Muammar Gaddafi, but failed to bring stability to Libya and contribute to the chaos on violence that continues to this day. So It is important to carefully consider this negative potential consequence before intervening and to seek the alternative solutions that are more respectful and sovereignty and sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed judges and honorable opponents. This affirmative side argues for the condemnation and abolition of Western involvement in conflicted affairs. While this may seem ethically sound, such a stance overlooks critical aspects of international relations and humanitarian efforts, I will elaborate on three pivotal points to counter this motion. The first one is humanitarian aid and peacekeeping. Western countries play a crucial role in providing humanitarian aid and peacekeeping in conflict zones. Organizations such as the United Nations, the UN, the World Food Programme, and international NGOs, often led and funded by Western nations, are vital in delivering food, medical aid, and maintaining peace. For instance, the UN peacekeeping missions, heavily supported by Western countries, have been essential in mitigating violence and protecting civilians in war-torn regions like South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Condemning and abolishing Western involvement would jeopardize these life-saving efforts. Vulnerable populations in conflicted countries rely heavily on international support for their basic needs and security. Without the resources and with logistical support provided by the Western countries, many of these humanitarian missions would be severely compromised, leading to increased suffering and loss of life. And the second one is the moral and ethical responsibility. Western countries have a moral and ethical responsibility to intervene in situations of gross human rights violations. The international community, guided by principles like the responsibility to protect, has an obligation to prevent atrocities such as genocide, ethnic cleansing, and severe repression. Historical instances such as NATO's intervention in Kosovo in the late 1990s demonstrate how Western involvement can prevent large-scale human rights abuses and stabilize regions. Abandoning this responsibility could lead to dire consequences. For example, during the Rwandan genocide in 1994, the lack of timely international intervention resulted in the massacre of approximately 800,000 people. Such tragedies highlight the necessity of ethical interventions to protect innocent lives. Thus, rather than condemning Western involvement, we should advocate for responsible and effective actions to uphold human rights and prevent atrocities. And the last point that I would like to say is the consequences of non-intervention. The catastrophic consequences of non-intervention serve as a stark warning against the blanket condemnation of Western involvement. The Rwandan genocide, where the international community's failure to act led to immense loss of life, underscore the potential dangers of non-intervention. Similarly, in Syria, the lack of decisive early intervention by the international community allowed the conflict to escalate, resulting in widespread devastation and a humanitarian crisis. By calling for the abolition of Western involvement, we risk repeating these failures. Non-intervention can lead to power vacuums, unchecked atrocities, and prolonged conflicts. Therefore, instead of abolishing Western involvement, we should focus on improving the mechanism and strategies of intervention to ensure they are timely, effective, and aligned with the needs of the affected populations. So in conclusion, while the affirmative stance is rooted in a desire for justice, it overlooks the complexities and necessities of international intervention. Humanitarian aid and peacekeeping efforts, the moral and ethical responsibility to protect human rights, and the catastrophic consequences of non-intervention all underscore the need for thoughtful and responsible involvement by Western countries in conflicted areas. Instead of condemning and abolishing such actions, we should aim to reform and enhance them to better serve the needs of oppressed populations and uphold international law. Thank you.
your team is missing a whole point, which is against Western intervention, maintaining sovereignty and seeking alternative solutions. Western intervention in the conflict zone is often opposed on grounds of violation of sovereignty. Every country has the right to determine its own fate and solve its problem internally. Western intervention, through well-intentioned, can be seen as a violation of this principle of sovereignty. It can provoke disrespect and hatred of the West among the local population. And it can exacerbate the conflict situation. Western intervention can also undermine diplomatic relations between the countries involved. The countries involved may feel threatened and untrusted by Western nations, and it can impede communication and cooperation in efforts to resolve conflicts. Furthermore, Western intervention might hinder efforts to reach a peaceful solution to the conflict. States intervening may feel compelled to submit to the demands of Western nations, and this may prolong hostilities and hinder the negotiation process. It is therefore important to seek alternative solutions that are more respectful of sovereignty and sustainable in an effort to bring peace and stability to the conflict zone. The solution can include diplomacy, mediation, and development assistance carried out with the agreement and cooperation of the countries involved. It is important to remember that each conflict situation is different, so there is no single solution that can be applied universally. Maintaining sovereignty and seeking alternative solution is an important step towards building lasting peace and stability in the conflict zone. Thank you.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we must not forget the complexity of conflicts. Conflicted countries often face deeply rooted, multifaceted issues involving ethnic, religious, and political dimensions. These conflicts are not merely matters of oppression by one party, but are complex situations requiring nuanced understanding and intervention. Western involvement, though sometimes flawed, often aims to stabilize regions, prevent genocides, and support humanitarian efforts. And the second one, we must know the role of international law and sovereignty. Western involvement in conflicted areas are often sanctioned by international bodies such as the United Nations Security Council. These actions are based on international law and collective agreement aimed at maintaining global peace and security. To condemn such actions indiscriminately undermines the legal frameworks and cooperative mechanisms established to address global conflicts. Take the intervention in Libya in 2011, authorized by the UN Security Council to protect civilians during the civil war. This intervention, supported by Western countries, was grounded in international law and aimed to prevent mass atrocities. Abolishing such involvement would weaken the international community's ability to respond to crisis and uphold international norms. Rather than condemning these actions, we should work towards ensuring that interventions are carried out within the bounds of international law and with respect for national sovereignty. And the last one, we need to reform, not abolition. While there are legitimate critics of Western interventions, such as instance of neo-imperialism or unintended negative consequences, the solution is not to abolish these actions entirely, but to reform them. Reforms can address issues of accountability, effectiveness, and respect for the sovereignty and wishes of the affected population. For instance, post-intervention reports in Afghanistan and Iraq have highlighted the need for better planning and deeper understanding of local contexts. Learning from these experiences, future interventions can be improved to ensure they are genuinely beneficial. Abolition, on the other hand, would leave conflicted countries without critical support and expose them to further instability and suffering. Reform ensures that interventions are just, necessary, and effective. Thank you.
Okay, maybe you need to back what are we talking about in this debate. Based on the motion is operation in conflicted countries, and the involvement in that situation from Western countries in such action must be condemned and abolished. I don't get why your team is really believe that this is the right thing. This is we never thinking that your team is really believe that the operation in the conflicted countries is really okay. Maybe I give you some facts that really give you a point of view that maybe you can agree with us, because there's no way such actions that Western countries involvement in this situation you can give to us. And it's not about Palestine or Israel things. It's such a long time ago. This kind of things has really happened, like in the Vietnam Wars from 1955 until 1975. The Western countries like the U.S. involvement in Vietnam initially made preventing the spread of communism resulted in a devastating war that claimed millions of lives, including large numbers of civilians. The war in Afghanistan 2001 until 2021. The U.S.-led invasion of Afghanistan following the 9/11 attack aimed to dismantle the Taliban regime and eliminate Al-Qaeda. However, the war devolved into a long and costly insurgency, causing immense civilian casualties and displacement. The Iraq War in 2003 until 2011, the Iraq-Contra affair of 1985 until 1986. This proving that what motion is the right to do is it need to be condemned and abolished. Why you say this is not the right thing to do? And I'm going to give you the example again. There's article in the Chinese media in the U.S. Even the media in the U.S. says that Biden, a president of United States right now, is support Israel about the equipment and the defense material. It's says by R. Clark Hopper, former Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs, the bureau which oversees arms transfer in the U.S. And Biden says that administration between Israel and U.S. they gonna support $40 billion for Israel from Congress. That Biden support that things. A lot of people died, a lot of kids died, a lot of journalists died based on the data underscored by the Al Jazeera, the media from the countries in there. The tragic statistic that nearly 75% of journalists killed in 2023 were Palestinians in Israel's war on Gaza. Let me highlight what you say. Maybe you say the involvement of other countries is about human aid. Maybe the involvement in other countries is about United Nations, NATO, and all that stuff, but that don't work in this situation. So what we need to do is to support in the right way, not to support the defensive, the missile, the war in there, but to support how to solve the war, not to support the war itself, to win something, not in that situation. You say it that there are United Nations, there are NATO and something like that, but the result is some people still killed, some kids still had died. So your point is so misleading, and we still believe that the oppression in conflicting countries and the involvement of Western countries in such action must be condemned and abolished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we never say that oppression is okay. We need to highlight that. The affirmative side attempts to portray Western involvement as uniformly negative by citing examples such as the U.S. support in the Gaza conflict. However, this argument oversimplifies the multifaceted and deeply rooted nature of many international conflicts. It's crucial to understand that conflicts in regions like Gaza are influenced by myriad of historical, political, and social factors that go beyond mere Western support. Nazi ended with major contribution from the United States and other allies. Nazi Germany finally surrendered unconditionally on May 8, 1945, known as VE or Victory in Europe. This marked the end of World War II in Europe. Certainly, there are some real facts that highlight the impact of Western countries in ending wars and providing humanitarian aid. Firstly is Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1992 until 1995, NATO intervention. The NATO intervention in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1995 played a crucial role in ending the Bosnian War. Operation Deliberate Force, a sustained air campaign by NATO, pressured the Bosnian Serb forces to agree to peace talks. This led to the Dayton Agreement, which effectively ended the conflict and established a framework for peace. Secondly is Kosovo in 1999, NATO bombing campaign. In response to the ethnic cleansing of Albanians in Kosovo, NATO conducted a 78-day bombing campaign against Yugoslav forces in 1999. This intervention was pivotal in halting the violence and eventually led to the withdrawal of Yugoslav troops from Kosovo, paving the way for the establishment of peace and the eventual declaration of independence by Kosovo. Third is Sierra Leone in 2000. British military intervention in 2000. British forces intervened in the Sierra Leone Civil War, helping to end the conflict. Operation Palliser, the deployment of British troops, successfully repelled the Revolutionary United Front rebels and stabilized the country, enabling the peace process to process. 4 is Liberia in 2003. United Nations mission in Liberia, backed by Western countries. The United Nations mission in Liberia was deployed to help end the Second Liberian Civil War. The presence of peacekeepers helped to stabilize the country, disarm combat, and support the peace process leading to democratic elections and lasting peace. And last is South Sudan, 2011 until present. United Nations mission in South Sudan, support significantly by Western nations, has played a vital role in protecting civilians and facilitating humanitarian assistance in South Sudan. Despite ongoing challenges, the mission has been crucial in mitigating violence and providing aid to millions affected by the conflict. This example underscored the importance of Western involvement in peacekeeping and humanitarian efforts, demonstrating their capacity to end conflicts, support peace process, and provide essential aid to vulnerable populations.
So, for our estimate, opponent has raised some valid points about the potential benefit of Western intervention. However, this historical record and the inherent power imbalance make such interventions a risky gamble. We have seen regional fester, conflicts escalate, and political instability deepen in the wake of interventions like Iraq and Libya. The path forward lies in respect for sovereignty and collaborative solutions, diplomacy, mediation, and development assistance. There are the tools to build a more sustainable peace. Imagine a future where the West works alongside conflict-affected nations, empowering them to find their own solutions. Let's not repeat the mistake of the past. Let's choose a more respectful and sustainable approach. The responsibility for a peaceful future lies not just with the West, but with the international community as a whole. Working together, we can build a world where human rights and democracy take root not through force, but through cooperation and self-determination. Thank you for your time. The choice is clear. It's time to move beyond intervention and embrace a future built on respect and collaboration. Thank you.
Okay, so we believe that Western involvement in humanitarian aid and peacekeeping is crucial for delivering essential services, maintaining stability in conflict zones, and preventing gross human rights violations. Support from Western nations through the UN and NGO provide vital resources that save life and protect vulnerable populations. Rather than condemning Western involvement, we should advocate for responsible and effective action that uphold human rights, mitigate violence, and prevent atrocities, ensuring a safer and more just world for all. In conclusion, Western countries have made significant contributions to ending conflict and providing humanitarian aid in various regions, such as Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and South Sudan. Their intervention have been instrumental in stabilizing volatile situation, protecting civilians, and facilitating peace processes. This effort highlights the crucial role that Western nations play in promoting peace and security around the world. We support Western intervention in conflict when driven by humanitarian principles and a commitment to peace. While recognizing the complexities involved, we believe that responsible intervention can mitigate conflict and protect human rights. Ultimately, fostering global stability and justice, we agree that Western involvement can be vital in addressing global challenges and promoting stability as long as its impacts are carefully considered.